Today's lesson is South Korean doctors strike to protest government proposal. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our program. My name is Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And we're talking about a strike that took place in Korea recently, and it involved the doctors there. And, of course, doctors don't usually go on strike. Okay, that's kind of a threat to society. If doctors aren't working, then people are not getting care, and they might suffer as a result. But this did happen in South Korea, and they are protesting a kind of government proposal, and I guess they don't like what the government is suggesting.
Exactly right. Doctors in South Korea, they had doctors in the UK were also on strike recently, wanting to get more money. These doctors have been working very hard. I don't know about their specific contracts that they have with the government, but of course the last 3 or 4 years with COVID and everything else has put a lot of medical systems under a lot of pressure. And doctors, I would say quite rightly, are kind of saying, you know, we've been working hard. We probably deserve a little bit of a pay raise. And so that's what they have been doing. But they haven't really been happy with how the South Korean government has been dealing with them. Not only are they not getting the new contracts that they're looking for with the higher pay, they're also being threatened with being arrested or having their medical licenses withdrawn if they don't get back to work. And it seems the public Korea is kind of split between sympathizing with the doctors or with the government's position. So it's a very interesting situation that is going on there. Let's get into the first part of our article and we'll find out what's going on. South Korean doctors strike to protest government proposal. Patients were left untreated in South Korea when thousands of junior physicians went on strike in February to protest government plans to increase the supply of doctors. With around 2/3 of hospital interns and residents walking off the job, some hospitals were forced to cancel surgeries and turn away patients in need of emergency care.
大家好，标题中介绍动词 protest， 这个字也可以念作 protest， 它表示抗议或是反对。我们可以说 Over 2,000 people protested the new chemical factory. 超过2000名民众抗议那间新的化学工厂。也可以说 Jenny protested her father's decision. Jenny 抗议爸爸的决定。再来看到名词 proposal， 它的意思是提案或是提议。例如 After working on it for several days, Jane presented her project proposal to her professor. 经过几天的努力 Jane 将她的提案交给她的教授。或者 If Dean accepts the job proposal, then he'll have to move to another city. 如果 Dean 接受这份工作提议，那他就必须搬到另一个城市去。接着看到名词 surgery， 表示外科手术。例如After breaking my arm, I had to have surgery to repair it. 在摔断手以后，我必须靠动手术来治好我的手。或是 Elsa's knee is injured and she'll probably need surgery. Elsa 的膝盖受伤了，她可能需要动手术。继续看到片语 turn somebody away， 它的意思是拒绝或是不让某人进入某处。例如Many restaurants turn away customers who do not have reservations. 许多餐厅拒绝没有预定的顾客。
Okay, let's take a look at the title here first. Again, we're in South Korea, and we've got doctors there, and they've gone on strike, which means they don't go to work because they want some changes made to their working conditions. They probably want an increase in salary, but sometimes strikes take place to improve conditions or whatever.
Or both.
Or both at the same time. And they're doing this to protest government proposal. And if you protest something or protest something, you could say it both ways. That means you're saying that you don't approve of something and you don't like it and you're against it, or you want some other policy adopted. Sometimes, of course, if the government comes out with a new policy, people will protest this new policy by gathering in front of the presidential palace and saying, no, we won't accept that. Don't do that. It's wrong.
That's right. And what they're protesting here is the government's proposal, the government's offer. When you propose something, you put forward an idea, you put forward an offer, you put forward a suggestion, and you're kind of like, what do you guys think? Do you like like this? Do you agree with it? Should we do it? Do you have a better idea? Do you want to change this? But basically, this is the government's offer. The government is saying, well, you want 25% more money and your working time cut by 10%. We'll give you 10% more money and your working time cut by 5% or something. And the doctors are saying, nope, that's not enough. We want more. We don't accept that. So it's a very sticky situation. And of course, the patients, the sick folks who are wanting to go to the hospital or are in the hospital, they are kind of caught in the middle of all this. So let's start our article from that point of view. It says patients were left untreated in South Korea when thousands of junior physicians went on strike in February to protest government plans to increase the supply of doctors. So there you go. Yes, the patients are being left untreated. Doctors' appointments aren't being accepted. Surgeries are being canceled or postponed. And of course, when you're in the hospital, maybe in the emergency ward, you'll probably have to wait much longer because thousands of junior physicians or junior doctors, as they're also sometimes called, they walked off the job. They went on strike. They're standing in front of the hospital holding a sign saying, we want a better deal or whatever, instead of being in the hospital helping the patients. This started in February and it has continued in the months since then. They're protesting government plans to increase the supply of doctors. Interesting. So the government wants to hire more doctors, which a lot of countries would be quite happy about. But I guess the doctors in Korea are saying, well, if they have more doctors, everyone will have less work, less pay. It's going to kind of affect our jobs. And we think that that is not fair. Or maybe they just kind of think the government is proposing to hire too many doctors too quickly or something like that.
With around 2/3 of hospital interns and residents walking off the job, some hospitals were forced to cancel surgeries and turn away patients in need of emergency care. So with 2/3 of hospital interns and residents walking off the job, or because they did this, some hospitals were affected by this. Some surgeries were canceled and some patients were turned away. They were not offered medical attention because there just weren't doctors around to help them out. And this happened with 2/3 of hospital interns. An intern is somebody who's training to become a doctor or to be something else in whatever field. That's the person who is training. They're not a doctor yet. They're an intern, but they're almost there. They just have to complete this internship and maybe do something else, and then they can be a full-fledged medical doctor or a physician.
Exactly right. Interns, of course, in a hospital, they will get paid. In other jobs, you might be working more as a volunteer to get on-the-job training, and you might not actually get a salary if you're an intern in a company of some kind. And residents, this is a slightly more senior version of an intern, a junior doctor. So these are not all young people who are fresh out of medical school. They just don't have the seniority of the more senior boss doctors in the hospital. And they've walked off the job. If you walk off the job, it's like going on strike. It doesn't mean you're quitting. It doesn't mean you're going home at the end of your shift. It means you are leaving your job in protest at some working conditions that you can't accept. So basically, it's the same as on strike. And so they've canceled some surgeries. Surgeries meaning operations, when you have to actually go into the hospital and have them cut into your body to remove the sick parts of your body or something like that. Of course, if it's an emergency surgery like a heart surgery, they probably do it. But if you have a bad knee, if you're getting a new hip, if you're, having something like that, you're probably going to have to wait weeks or months. And they've even been turning away patients, saying, no, there are no doctors here. I know you just fell off your bike and broke your leg, but you'll have to go to another hospital because we don't have anyone here to care for you. So, of course, ambulances will be driving around the big cities looking for spaces in emergency rooms. And this, of course, is not good for the patients and for their treatment. So this is a not good situation. Let's find out the root causes of this strike in the next part of our article. South Korea has only around 2.5 doctors per 1,000 people, one of the lowest rates among all developed countries. Moreover, too few doctors specialize in certain fields, such as pediatrics and obstetrics, compared to more profitable fields. At the same time, the population in South Korea is rapidly aging, and more medical workers will be needed in the future, especially in remote areas. In light of these facts, South Korea's president has proposed that 2,000 more students per year be accepted into the nation's medical schools.
二部分介绍形容词 profitable， 表示盈利的、有利润的或是有利可图的。我们可以说Anne has built up a profitable business selling sweaters she knits herself. Anne 贩售自己编织的毛衣，建立了个赚钱的生意。又或者说 The director's first movie was his most profitable one. 该导演拍的第一部电影是他最赚钱的一部。再来看到片语 in the light of， 它的意思是有鉴于、由于或是考虑到。例如In light of new evidence, the court case has been dropped. 有鉴于新证据，这个诉讼案件已经撤销了。又或者说 In light of the new information I have received, I need to make some changes to the report I'm writing. 根据我取得的新资料，我得就我正在写的报告做一些修改。
Okay, we're going to find out the root causes of this particular problem in Korea now in the second part of our article. So let's dive right in. South Korea has only around 2.5 doctors per 1,000 people, one of the lowest rates among all developed countries. That's a low number compared to other developed countries who have higher rates of doctors per population.
Interesting. So you would think that hiring more doctors would be good for everyone, but the doctors don't seem to agree. And there's an additional problem to not only the low rate of doctors, the low number of doctors, moreover, which is kind of like an addition or and, moreover, too few doctors, not enough doctors, specialize in certain fields, such as pediatrics and obstetrics, compared to more profitable fields. I'm wondering if plastic surgery has something to do with this.
I was going to guess they're really concerned about their appearance in South Korea.
And they have a lot of plastic surgery clinics there. That's very true. And of course, that would be a profitable field of medicine. Profitable, another word might be lucrative. It makes you more money to be a plastic surgeon or something like that than it does to be a doctor in certain fields such as pediatrics and obstetrics. As you probably know, when you go to medical school after a few years of education, you will probably be asked or told to specialize in a certain field or become an expert in a certain type of medical treatment, be a certain type of doctor. Pediatrics, one of the ones that's not popular, it says here in Korea, is for children. That would be a children's doctor. You take care of basically of sick kids. Obstetrics, that would be a lady doctor, especially pregnant ladies. OB-GYN, obstetrics and gynecology, they specialize in female medicine, helping women have babies and all the other specific issues that might affect women compared to men. And this is to specialize, to become kind of an expert at something. You're going to really focus and narrow down your knowledge and your training to a certain area. So, you know, if you're worried about your skin and your cousin is a doctor of pediatrics, you might say, hey, what's this weird bump on my neck? And they'd say, well, I don't really know. I'm not a dermatologist. I'm not a skin doctor. I'm a child doctor, but I can recommend my friend or I can take a guess. But you really want to have someone who specializes in your specific area in order to get the best treatment. And of course, areas like pediatrics, obstetrics, these people will work in public hospitals, maybe in a private clinic, but it's not as profitable. It's not as lucrative. It doesn't make as much money, or it's harder work than being a foot doctor or a skin doctor or a plastic surgeon. These are the kind of popular ones because it makes the job of being a doctor, which is a hard job, much easier. People are usually rarely called in on the weekend when they're enjoying a day off because someone has a skin problem. But if one of your patients is a very sick child, you might have to be on the job working much longer hours than other types of doctors.
Now, at the same time, the population in South Korea is rapidly aging, and more medical workers will be needed in the future, especially in remote areas. This is a big problem all over the world, especially here in Asia, where they just aren't producing enough children, so So there are more and more old people or more and more elderly people. And as you know, as you get older, you have more and more health problems. So, of course, people in Taiwan and Japan and Korea are going to need more doctors because of this particular reason.
All right. And of course, yes, remote areas, the small towns and villages of Korea, they also need doctors. And you can probably understand, and they have the same problem in many countries. I know in Canada, this is a big problem. A lot of young doctors, they don't really want to move to a small village. They want to live in the big city. Maybe they have young kids. Maybe they're single. But the idea of spending, 5 or 10 years at the beginning of their medical career working in a small village or a small town isn't quite as appealing as staying in the big, exciting city. In light of these facts, so when considering all of these facts or taking all of these facts into account, because they are all important elements here, South Korea's president has proposed that 2,000 more students per year be accepted into the nation's medical schools. In other words, in 6-8 years, they'll be producing more doctors, and the government at least thinks that would be a good idea. Doctors disagree, and we'll get back to find out more about this in the third part of the article. Although the president's plan is popular with the public, many doctors oppose it because they believe that the increase in medical students will not solve the structural problems affecting the country's medical system. Nonetheless, the government has moved forward with the plan, and it is hoped that the issues facing healthcare in South Korea will eventually be solved.
最后第三部分我们看到动词 oppose 指的是反对或是反抗。举例来说 Most citizens oppose the proposed tax increase. 大多数公民反对增税的提议。
Okay, let's talk about the third and final part of our article for today. It says, although the president's plan is popular with the public, it is true that people like this idea. Many doctors oppose it because they believe that the increase in medical students will not solve the structural problems affecting the country's medical system. So they think it's just not an easy fix. It's not an easy solution there to bring in 2,000 more doctors every year. They oppose this government policy. To oppose something just means you're against it. And the opposite of oppose is to support it. So they don't support this policy. They actually oppose it. They are against it. They don't like it.
Which is, of course, why they are on strike. They believe that the increase in medical students will not solve the structural problems affecting the country's medical system. So they kind of feel that hiring more doctors might help things in the short term, but it won't help things in the long term because the entire medical system in Korea has structural problems. Just the way it's set up, the way it's organized, the way they do everything in the medical system is the main problem. They need to come up with kind of a whole new plan, a whole new way of doing things, a whole new way of organizing how doctors work and how the medical system operates in Korea, and hiring a few more doctors won't really fix any of those problems. Nonetheless, it says the government has moved forward with the plan, and it is hoped that the issues facing healthcare in South Korea will eventually be solved. So the government is kind of not really caring too much about the doctor's point of view. They're moving forward with the plan to hire the doctors nonetheless. So even when considering all of the doctors' points of view, even considering the doctors saying that this is not going to help in the end, this is not going to fix the problem, even considering that, something very different or the opposite is happening. That's why we say nonetheless. It's kind of saying these two things exist at the same time. They both be true, but they're in opposition, but that's just the way it is. So even though the doctors don't agree, the government has moved forward with the plan, and it is hoped, especially by the government, that the people, of course, the patients, that the issues facing healthcare in South Korea will eventually be solved, be fixed. Hopefully, hiring 2,000 more doctors will fix things. The doctors themselves might disagree with that sort of rosy forecast.
That, of course, is very important to understand for people here in Taiwan to see what happens in Korea, because they probably have the same problem here in Taiwan as well. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's listen now to Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分有一句写到 With around 2/3 of hospital interns and residents walking off the job, some hospitals were forced to... 这是表达说由于大约有2/3的医院实习医生和住院医生罢工，一些医院被迫怎么样。好，那这边我们要介绍的是 with 加受词加受词补语这样的句型，那是用来附带说明主要子句的状况。受词后面的受词补语呢，你可以用分词、形容词或者是介系词片语。如果要用分词当受词补语，我们就会从受词跟受词补语的关系来判断。主动关系是用现在分词 VING， 被动关系是用过去分词 PP。 好，那就像课文里面呢 with 后方它是接受词 around 2/3 of hospital interns and residents， 然后再接受词补语 walking off the job。 这个动词片语walk off the job 表示突然离开工作岗位，停止工作或是罢工的意思。那在这边呢，受词跟受词补语的关系就是主动关系了，所以用到现在分词 walking 来表示。好，那我们再造一个例句 With little money left, he turned to his parents for help. 由于身上的钱所剩无几，他向父母寻求协助。好，那这个例句里面受词是 little money， 受词补语是 left。 因为这个钱是被留下、被剩下的，这个受词跟受词补语之间是被动关系，所以我们是用过去分词 left 来当补语。好，那么课文第二部分有一句提到与获利较高的领域相比，某些领域如儿科和产科的专责医师人数太少。那文中是用 compared to more profitable fields 来表达与获利较高的领域相比。那当我们用 compared to 或者是 compared with 加名词，是表达相较于什么什么和什么比起来，跟什么相较之下。那它是独立分词片语，可以摆在句首或者是接在主要子句的后面。举例来说 Compared to her classmates, she's fairly short。与同学们相比，他的个子比较矮。好，那这边顺便补充一下 compare A to B 的两种用法。第一个呢，我们可以用来表达说将 A 与 B 做比较，拿 A 与 B 相比。那这个用法是把两者放在一起比较，找出它们的异同，其中的 to 也可以换成 with。 像 compare Earth to Mars， 意思是将地球与火星做比较。好，那么第二个呢，我们可以用 compare A to B 表达将 A 比作 B， 将 A 比喻为 B。 那这个用法是在强调两者之间相似的地方。 compare 在这边就有比拟或者是比喻的意思。那特别注意 to 就不能换成 with。 举例来说 Life is often compared to a journey， 人生常被比喻为一场旅行。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Protest。A large crowd gathered in the city's main square to protest against the government's decision. Proposal. Raul is writing a detailed proposal for improving the company's security systems. Surgery. The surgery on the patient's knee was successful, so he should be able to walk normally within a few weeks. Specialize. After completing medical school, William decided to specialize in family medicine. Profitable.The restaurant proved to be highly profitable within a year of opening. Oppose. Many people oppose the proposed law because of the negative effects it might have on the environment. Nonetheless. I know you don't like vegetables. Nonetheless, you should eat some every day because they're good for you.
Discussion starter starts now!
We've got a discussion starter for today, and the question is, do you support the doctors in their strike? Why or why not?
I agree with the doctor's decision to strike. It seems appropriate to me because if there are structural problems in the medical system, hiring 2,000 more doctors won't really fix it, and maybe the doctors going on strike is what is needed to bring really serious attention to the structural issues.
Well, I don't support the strike since lots of sick people are not going to be treated as a result. Imagine heading to the hospital and you're suffering from a very painful kidney stone.
Ouch.
And there's no doctor there to take care of you. I think that's very irresponsible.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.